Hey YouTube, how's it going? My name is Eli, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. And if you're a returning subscriber, glad to have you back for today's video. I am a street photographer based here in Indianapolis, and today we're going to be talking about how I utilize reflections in my street photography. I will be using both my Fujifilm XE4 and XPro2 throughout the video, and any sample images included will have the specific camera used noted as well. So let's jump right into it. Before I even leave home for the day, I want to be conscious that my goal is to utilize reflections. I have found that a variety of mid-range focal lengths work well for this technique. Most of my lenses fall between 35mm and 50mm full-frame equivalents. I use my Fujifilm 23mm, 27mm, and 35mm lenses most commonly. I tend to stay within this versatile range, since with too wide of a lens I would just end up cropping and losing image quality, and with too tight of a lens I would wish I had more scenery captured. I also forgo the use of any polarizers or UV filters, as I am trying to find and use reflections, not diminish them. I essentially shoot my cameras on aperture priority mode for this style of street photography. If you are interested in learning more about how I set up my Fujifilm cameras, please check out the video I have linked in the description. Now that it is time to shoot, I generally shoot in RAW and make the decision of color or black and white in Lightroom. I have found this technique works well with both, but more often I stick with color, as reflections tend to utilize a nicely saturated color palette. When I am editing the photos, I love to focus on accentuating any colors that stand out in the photo. I love using the Vibrance tool and a bit of HSL slider work to enhance any strong colors already present. I usually shy away from changing the hue of a color, but rather increase the saturation of individual colors as needed, instead of going crazy on the saturation slider. So how do I find great spots for these reflections? The best source for these is mirrors or windows, or generally even just any glass surface. And the more your eye is trained to look for these reflections, the more you tend to find. You'll be surprised just how many places offer photo opportunities like this. Whether you're in a large city or even just a small town, ample reflective objects and materials abound. Two of my big inspirations for this style are Faisal Westcott and Ernst Haas. Faisal is one of my favorite photographers currently, and he manages to make reflections beautiful. I highly recommend his YouTube channel, which I have linked in the description as well. For a more classic style, Ernst Haas was a photographer who is known for his use of reflections as well, and I enjoy his vibrant images from New York City in the 50s and 60s. I highly recommend his book, New York in Color, for endless ideas. I will go in depth into this and more of my favorite photo books in a future video. So let's get back to the shooting process. Now, these are a bit complex to get right. Since we aren't using a polarizer, the frame can be tricky to nail. These shots usually require me to find a spot and make several test shots before camping out and waiting for a subject I find interesting to pass through. These very rarely occur spur of the moment. Another difficulty is making sure that your own camera is not getting into the frame. This can be challenging, and you may have to move around or just understand that if it is unavoidable, to put it off to the very corner of the frame and to crop it out later. One must also be aware of the sun and what direction it is coming from, as this will greatly affect the final outcome of the image. Shooting in live view makes this a bit easier than utilizing the rangefinder in my XPro2, since the exact position of the reflections shifts slightly when in that mode. I tend to compose and shoot using the back LCD screen, guaranteeing I end up with the exact photo I expected while composing. I hope those few quick hacks are helpful for you as you go out in search of your own reflection photos. Please hop down to the comment section and let me know if this is a genre you're interested in exploring, and please drop your Instagram handles down there as well so I can check out some of your work. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.